Did you take notes?
Oh God, yeah.
Like a weirdo.
Oh, big time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a bonus video from MinMax. MinMax is a place about games, friends, getting better, and Jurassic Park as well. We always forget. We kind of like shorten it normally.
Hold on. Jurassic World, mostly.
Oh, boy.
Let's get into it.
We're a Patreon about games, friends, getting better, and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Thank you all for being here. My name is Ben Hansen. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello, I already talked.
He already spoke. Thank you for being on board for this. This is a tour of a tour. Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time. Kyle, I'd imagine you're a fan.
Yeah, I love Jurassic Park.
Okay.
And Lost World. I will go to bat for Lost World. I'll go to bat for the first 70% of Lost World.
I will come to your house and attack you if you don't like Lost World, is Kyle's official stance. What this is, though, is we both went on the Jurassic Park tour in Hawaii of these sets of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, all that stuff. I want to unpack what that's actually like, because my entire life, Kyle, well, up until the point I saw Jurassic Park, I suppose, is when it officially started, or after that point, I said, I want to go see Hawaii. That seems like Jurassic Park, and I really like Jurassic Park, and I'd like to experience as much of Jurassic Park in the real world as I can. And there is this legendary land called Hawaii is officially how it's pronounced. Don't blow it, Kyle.
Oh, really?
That's right. The W in Hawaiian, if it's in the middle of a word, it's pronounced like a V. Fun fact I learned about language of Hawaii.
They didn't tell me that while I was there.
Oh, you blew it. You didn't go on the right tours. Anyway, so I went to Oahu, saw a ton, had a great time on vacation. That's why last week's content was a little bit light here at MinMax. Kyle, you went last year? When were you on this tour?
It was Christmas of 2021.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So it's a little hazier for you. But yes, Kyle, to answer your question from earlier, I am the dork that went on a Jurassic Park tour and took notes in my phone the entire time because I'm like, I think this is good content. I think there's other dorks like me that have always wanted to go on one of these Jurassic Park tours, but like how many times in your life do you get an opportunity to go to Hawaii? So I bet there are people who are not able to make this journey. So we need to relay to them what it's actually like.
I mean, I'm happy you went when you mentioned you were going to Hawaii. And I think the first thing I asked was like, are you going to the Jurassic Park place? And you were like, yeah. Because like while I was there, I was like, I almost felt bad. I was like, this is more of a Ben thing, I think. I loved it. I thought it was great. But
thank you. This is what's fascinating about this. So we both went on this tour in Kualoa Ranch. It's the whole thing. They call it Jurassic Valley. And specifically, they have a bunch of different options, different tours, like a general Hollywood tour or the Jurassic tour. Do you remember, did you go on the specific Jurassic one or more of the overall Hollywood one?
I think it was the specific Jurassic
one.
But they show you a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah, they do. Like, okay, we have a bunch of things still set up from Kong Skull Island, stuff like that. And right when you
they yell at you for picking up the props. I'm sure you had that experience as well.
Did you try to pick up a prop?
Yeah, the tour guide said we could, but then there was another group there, and that tour guide said we can't. And he even apologized when we all got back on the truck. He's like, yeah, some tour guides don't want you touching that stuff. I don't really care.
Yeah, man, it's just some stupid styrofoam.
We had the cool one. I really liked our tour guide. He was great.
Yeah, my guy was confusing. Like my favorite thing, and I mean this, in the world, Kyle, is tour guide jokes. I love it because I'm endlessly jealous of like they get this stand-up comedy routine that they just get to do over and over and over again. And if the people care, they can really hone their jokes. And like I've had tours of just historical sites that are funnier than any stand-up comedy I've ever seen because they're just able to hone those jokes. It is my fantasy to retire someday and just be a tour guide and obsess over stupid little jokes. So I loved it out of the gate. We're the tour guide for this one. We're getting on the whole vehicle, ready to head out. And he's like, all right, hope you're all ready for your Jurassic tour. Hope you brought your backpacks. You're ready to go for a 96-hour adventure. Here we go. And everyone started like looking around and getting a little freaked out. So he just kept doing these very like subtle, weird jokes where he started out by also talking about like, yeah, folks, this is a weird tour. I normally don't actually give it. Normally I'm the helicopter pilot. We actually had a helicopter crash this morning. And so I'm going to be doing this tour, but I haven't done it for like a year and a half. I was like, that's a weird joke to make, but sure, man, we're on board for the weird dark stuff.
You know, he's trying out some new stuff on you.
That's right. Okay, so this valley, it's the home of a lot of Hollywood filming locations. They have posters everywhere breaking down like everything else that's been filmed there. Everybody remembers 50 First Dates, George of the Jungle. You remember Snatched, right?
The movie about the guy that creates the fake tribe, Gryffindor's tribe. Is that what
Gryffindor.
I saw a sign for that, but the tour guide did not have any fun factoids to share about that one. I just quickly took a picture of it, and I was like, I don't think we're getting any details about that movie.
Keep on moving. And so they really build this as like, hey, Jurassic Park, everybody, Jurassic Park. Well, specifically Jurassic World as well. But the thing that's weird is it's just one scene from Jurassic Park that was filmed in this place, and it's the Gallimimus stampede and the T-Rex attack, where it's not the T-Rex attack, but the T-Rex attack on that one specific Gallimimus, I guess is the best way to put it. And so it's interesting because like a bulk of Jurassic Park that wasn't shot on sound stages and stuff was shot on Kauai. But then Hurricane Iniki, I think it was called, in 1992 came through and like destroyed all the sets and stuff. So they needed to find a new location for this one scene. So they went to the island of Oahu and then filmed this one scene in this valley. And it seems like now everything is spun out from that. Where I'd imagine all these other Hollywood productions are like, wow, it's good enough for Jurassic Park. We got to film the Jurassic Park location. And then this ranch became better and better known as a filming location. So, by the time they made Jurassic World, it's like, wow, we got to go to the Jurassic Park place. And instead of spending a lot of time on Kauai, where a bulk of Jurassic Park's exteriors were shot, it's like, well, let's go to the Hollywood place, which is this little valley where technically a bunch of Gallimimus supposedly ran through for that one scene in Jurassic Park.
It was like the weird early takeaway for me was this is like, it is called like Jurassic Park, but it is like it's all like Jurassic World locations, which is still fun, but
yeah, they definitely focus on that.
Disappointing if you want to be like a super nerd about it, I guess.
Well, it made me laugh though, because like nowhere else in the world did they say the phrase Mr. Colin Trevorrow as much as on this tour, because the tour guide just kept going, and Mr. Colin Trevorrow came to town, he was touring the island, he saw this spot here, and this is where he decided, yes, this is where the Indominus Rex will attack. And the thing about Mr. Colin Trevorrow, it's like, man, Mr. Colin Trevorrow over and over again. But I think it was just he wanted to film in Jurassic Parky spots, and so there you go. And it's more recent, so they still left up most of those sets, or as much as they could. But what's bizarre about it is, like, especially with the Jurassic World stuff, is they kept breaking down the scenes. And I love all Jurassic Park. Even the last three movies are fun, silly. Like Fallen Kingdom, I'll defend a little bit more than the other sequels. It was still bizarre to have him like unpacking all these scenes, and he kept describing every scene as iconic. Like, here's the iconic scene, and this is the location where the iconic Owen Grady was paralyzed and the lava was crawling towards him. And then he's running down the hill yelling, run, to our dear friend Claire, and she has to run as well from the dinosaurs. So it's like, I think they went through all this trouble of like filming in the location where the Gallimimus scene from Jurassic Park was for Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom. But then you go look at that and those shots, and it's just so much CG that it's like 7% of it seems like this valley is even in there, because the rest is just CG, which I appreciate the effort, but I don't know how much of it is just kind of a tip of the cap to real world locations and a memory of real locations compared to the practicality of actually capturing any of the natural beauty. Because look at it, it's a mountain from the background of Jurassic Park, and in this one it's a volcano and it explodes, so it's going to be largely CG anyway.
Yeah.
But technically it was the same one that was in Jurassic Park, They let us out to like walk around in a set. I mean, this was a year ago for me, and to the point where I'm like, I wonder if that was still there. But it was like the Indominus Rex like cage from the original Jurassic World, and like you could even go up. It was like multi-stories. They had cages that you could like, go into and stuff like that. Was that all still there and you got to see that? Yeah, they still had that in kind of the overlook area and stuff where Claire was looking down, and they had like a mock-up of her iPad that she had on that little stand there and stuff like that. Like that one stood out to me, because that was, in terms of like seeing a place where a movie was made, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm actually like walking around the set rather than looking at like a pretty landscape that got sort of covered by CGI, as you pointed out. Right. Yeah, we got to walk around that one, and they had like the scratch marks from the Indominus Rex. I mean, it was a pretty small little stretch of wall. And the interesting thing is the wall used to be taller, and they said that a while ago, maybe even after you visited, that strong winds just kind of blew down half the wall, because these things aren't made of concrete. It's all just styrofoam and plywood and stuff like that. And so they made a point of just saying like, yeah, we don't have any structural engineers on staff. So when this stuff falls down, it just kind of falls down. So it's so weird, but it's kind of fun to see this Jurassic World stuff, these Jurassic World sets all deteriorated and falling apart, because it's kind of like how Jurassic Park looked and the structures from Jurassic Park in Jurassic World. Now in the real world, the Jurassic World structures look as kind of fallen apart and decayed as the Jurassic Park sets and stuff. But they were very proud of the gyrosphere, like docking station where the kids got on the gyrosphere, because that was another location that they stopped at and let you walk around. I guess they use it for like wedding venues and stuff like that. It's such a weird thing to get excited and zoom in so deep just as a Jurassic Park fan. Like specifically, I mean, the Gallimimus scene in Jurassic Park is like the 7th best scene of the movie, you know, realistically, but it's like, it's cool just to focus in just on that one thing. And that's the thing that made me laugh about the Jurassic World sets of like, well, Jurassic World, it's a fun movie, sure. But suddenly to be like scrubbing YouTube to try and find like the scene where they get on the gyrosphere, like, oh, I want to see actually what it looks like in the movie compared to the real world and stuff like that. Lets you really dork out about that stuff.
You never got into Lost, the TV show Lost, right?
No.
Okay, because that was a big sort of fun thing for me. It's like I watched that show and really got into it, but I haven't thought about it a lot in the sort of intervening years. And it was cool to call out specific scenes from Lost a lot and remember. I was like, oh yeah, I really like that show. And in fact, I remember this very specific thing you're talking about. Like there's one scene where one of the characters makes a golf course to try to take everyone's mind off of how terrible the plane crash was that, put them on the island. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. This does kind of look familiar.
We got it. Yeah, I did on the flight back. I did watch 50 First Dates.
I thought you were going to say Lost, which I was like, don't watch the first episode of Lost on a flight.
I heard it's good. Got to watch it right now. But even that is fun. You'd be like, oh, okay, this scene, I can see where they shot it in that valley and stuff. But that was the weird thing. And a lot of this trip was just surreal. And this specific ranch was surreal. But specifically, it was the fact that like after Pearl Harbor, like they made a bunch of pillboxes and like bunkers and bases all around Hawaii, and specifically on Oahu. And in this area, they made a bunch of bunkers, and one of them is still up. Did you walk through the bunker? Do you remember this?
Yes. Yeah. That was like an early part of the tour for us.
Yep.
I imagine we took the same tour.
It has to be exactly the same. Yeah. So you walk through this bunker from World War II, and they have like, 2 posters about World War II. And then the part that's just bizarre is they turned the rest into like, and the Hall of Movies filmed here. So you're walking through this World War II bunker and like, okay, this room in the bunker, this is the one dedicated to Lost. This one over here is dedicated to the episode of The Biggest Loser that was filmed here. And then over here's the Hawaii Five-0.
Right?
Yeah, it's like Welcome to the Jungle section. But then you move on, and really the first big stop then is, the Jurassic Park stop, which is what I was waiting for the whole time, which it's like, hey, if you look over here, we have a Jurassic Park sign, and then we have a log, and this is where the Gallimimus jumped over. But we stopped and got out and got next to it, and I asked the guide, like, so was the real log, or like the original log real? Or I'd imagine that was all fake, or what are we looking at here? Because this does not add up in any way for what is supposed to be the log from Jurassic Park. And he naturally said, okay, no, the log obviously is gone from Jurassic Park, being filmed in 1992 or whatever. So this is the 8th generation log that they've hauled in that looks kind of like the log from Jurassic Park, and we put it in this spot for people to take pictures of. But even then I was like, the hills don't really match up. Like this all feels a little bit off. And it turns out that the actual filming location was like further up on the hillside, and that the trees in Jurassic Park weren't next to the log because those trees were all CG. So they took kind of the tree line and moved it up. Because if the T-Rex is like bursting through the trees, you got to have the interaction work somehow. So the actual Gallimimus stuff was further in the middle of the valley and not off to the side like the tour would have you believe. So it's just a lot of kind of squinting and rearranging in your brain. And also the big thing is like, they got a lot of tours running through this ranch, and they have ATV tours and all this stuff, and cows everywhere and stuff. And so there's a lot of roads going around this ranch. So like originally, I think kind of the appeal of let's have this natural, beautiful ranch, and this valley and the mountains are incredible. It still looks incredible. The mountains are beautiful and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like there's a lot of just kind of roads crisscrossing this environment. It's not really
not paved though, like just like dirt roads.
Yeah.
Like cliffside roads that a couple times where I was like, oh, this we're kind of high up here.
Yeah. There's fun stuff where you're going down a hill and it's a little bit bumpy. And even when you kick off the tour guide said, quote, hang on to your butts, which I appreciated. But then I was like, it's hold on to your butts. Like, of all the things, tour guide, you gotta get that exactly
Giving
right.
him notes on his
I really should have pulled him aside at a certain point. But then there's fun stuff like there's a steep hill later that we're going down and stuff. And then as we're going down it, he said, must go faster into the mic. It's like, okay, see, this is what I came here for. This is
good. You gave him the
stuff.
thumbs up on that one.
Yeah, good job, man. You're doing it.
Did your guy play dinosaur noises during the longer stretches of driving around?
No.
I actually really liked that touch. I was like, this is cool because it's kind of creepy. Like he had some good like dinosaur noises that he would play for, a decent amount of time as you're like, driving through the trees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It felt kind of real.
I like it. No, we were just blasting Jurassic Park music. Even though 3/4 of the tour was around Jurassic World, it's like, I like the Jurassic World soundtrack, but it's notable that he's not using any Jurassic World music. He's either Jurassic Park, and then in other sections, he just played like You're Welcome from Moana. So I was like, oh, okay, sure.
Hey, just not good song, too.
Hey, no doubt it's a great song. But fun facts about that Gallimima scene and all that stuff. Like, it's kind of fun just to see that perspective of like, what they were running towards was the ocean. Like the ocean is right there. And they even talk about like, oh, it's a good spot for whale watching actually, because you can look out on so much of the sea out there. And so that's fun. Just like, oh, they just would turn the camera around. You never would think that they're running right towards the ocean that whole time in that scene.
And we kind of moved past already.
Yeah.
But you did crouch under the 8th generation log and get a photo, right? It's like required.
I didn't. I took a picture next to it. I didn't crouch and like crawl through it. I don't know if it was a good crawling spot actually, but he did. I don't know if your tour guide did this, but it was a very smart touch where he just bought like a T-Rex toy, and then when you would take your picture, he'd put the T-Rex toy in front of the camera a little bit, so it looked like the T-Rex was attacking you, which was just top-notch stuff overall.
Well, our guy had an app, I think, that would superimpose. Like it was like an official Jurassic Park app that would superimpose a dinosaur in, and then he took pictures of everyone by the cage that we talked about earlier, and then texted everyone the photos that he took, and that came out pretty well. But I like the physical toy. I think that's more fun. That's cool.
There was a moment that I felt like I've been training for my entire life, and I completely blew it. Where he's like, "All right, group."
That's when he said, "Hang on to your butts."
Yeah,
and you were like, "Excuse me,
hold on." The only thing I'm hanging on to it, it's how you're blowing it. But no, he said,
"Your job." Hang on to your job is what you said.
I shrieked that at him, and they kicked me off the tour. No, but he's like, "All right, pop quiz, everybody. What animals were fused together to make the sound of the T-Rex roar in Jurassic Park? I'll give you all 3 guesses." And everybody yelled out guesses, and I didn't yell anything out because I'm like, God, I watched that making of Jurassic Park thing 400 times as a kid, and I did not remember the specific 3 animals. And everybody was way off because it turns out it's baby elephant squeal, an alligator, and a tiger are the 3 animals used to make the T-Rex roar. Apparently.
So you did not remember.
I did not,
and
I blew
you're
it.
ashamed.
I'm deeply ashamed of what I did. Also, I thought it was hot stuff, and like before we went out on the tour, I saw other people like watching the scene on their phone and stuff, the Gallimima scene, and I'm like, I know that movie so well, I don't need to even go back and reference the scene. And at a certain point, I'm like, what am I doing this for? Of course I want to go back and look to have like as fresh of a take as possible to compare and contrast. But it's funny, like before we went out, like the little waiting area, they were showing Jurassic World. And there were a bunch of like really young kids, and they were showing like some of the most brutal scenes from Jurassic World, like when the Indominus Rex is like eating them and they're by the river, and all their life support stuff's going off, or what do you call that? Life reader tech is falling off. So there's all these like dinosaur deaths, and I just get to watch all these little kids like be horrified. Clearly they're way too young for Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, but it's like, yeah, whatever. It's a tour. We got to show the clip. Have at it.
Did you also do what I did, which generated violent eye rolls from my wife and daughter, which was I took my seatbelt, made sure to make eye contact with them and start winking, and then tied it together instead of buckling it properly?
When you look at the B-roll I used for this video, you are going to be so happy with the exact shot that I got. Maybe this is a reach, but I was struck going through those bunkers and thinking like, oh, I hadn't even connected this before, but how much did like bunker design and World War II pillboxes influence the design of Jurassic Park and like the sets in Jurassic Park? Because if you go around Hawaii, if they're talking about the earliest discussions, I'm sure, of Jurassic Park, it's like, okay, we're going to be filming as much as we can in Hawaii. And then you're talking about building these structures in Hawaii, they must have referenced like the World War II bunkers and big, just kind of concrete block structures and stuff. And so I don't know. So I never thought about that before. I've never connected the dots of like, oh, it's weird to think of like so many of those sets, even like the Raptor pit or, the location that they run to, that Ellie and Muldoon go to towards the end, turn the power back on. It all kind of looks like a World War II bunker. Versus how much of that is just they needed to make thick concrete walls because they're scared of dinosaurs. But the influence of World War II on Jurassic Park's design, I never connected until this trip. And it's like, oh, okay. Seeing it in this environment does feel very Jurassic Park.
Because they certainly
obvious reason.
did those designs before they got there, right? It's not like they got there and said, oh, we should try to emulate this.
It's certainly not this ranch, especially if there's like a later scene that they shot, But I'd imagine, because there's footage of like Spielberg location scouting, and so they must have spent a fair bit of time on Hawaii in those early stages. So I'd imagine it would come through at some point. But let's see, other stuff. I really geeked out about the Jurassic World stuff. It was fine, but specifically,
Mr. Colin Trevorrow.
That's right, Mr. Colin Trevorrow. But specifically, like they had so many of the signs that were used on the set of Jurassic World, and I loved the geekiness of just like the close-ups and getting to read these signs that were in Jurassic World of like, hey, here's the sign to get on the gyrospheres, and it's like pregnant mothers can't get on board, or like they have a map of the island, and it's like, okay, Isla Nublar is a clean air, non-smoking environment. Just like all this little fine print that was technically in the world of Jurassic World, but you just didn't get to see because it was on those signs. It was cool seeing those up close. And there's like moments too. Well, there's a moment where they had a piece of a set from Fallen Kingdom, I think, and then they had a Jurassic World sign over it. And I went close to it, and it was just like all pixelated and just like a really gross blow up print. And I was like,
that's funny.
I was like, this is kind of cheap of the ranch. Then I'm like, you know what? Like, I do think that's kind of a Jurassic Parky thing if in Jurassic World, when they made the signs for Jurassic World, they were all pixelated and gross. Just like, I think that kind of cheapness and tackiness around the edges of Jurassic lore is always part of it, right? That it's kind of held together with duct tape. So every part where the set kind of looked cheap from the Jurassic World angle, it's like, oh, I kind of like that even just as a dork for this stuff of the fact that they're barely holding this park together. But it was probably just the ranch that blew up that big Jurassic World sign and cheaped out on the print quality and all that stuff.
But you're putting a different canon on spin.
I was putting canon on this entire experience. Yeah. So overall, it was cool. It was not living in Jurassic Park like your wildest fantasies would hope for, but just a beautiful location. It's just to have an opportunity to tour the valley.
That was ultimately. I'm not as big. I like Jurassic Park a lot, but it's hard to beat you in terms of being a fan of it. But really, like the big takeaway for me was like, man, that was like just an awesome place to go hang out. Like. It just looked great, and it was interesting, even beyond the sort of Hollywood aspect of it.
Yeah. And so it's weird. Like they have helicopter tours of Kauai, and so that's where a lot more was filmed. But it doesn't seem like those tours are as big. I don't think they're as thorough. So it's a misleading thing if you just search for Jurassic Park Tour Hawaii, because it'll bring you to this ranch, which technically only one scene was filmed on, but they are milking the hell out of that scene for the Jurassic Park angle. If you're a big fan of Jurassic World, I think this would be more of a thrill, even if it's, you're going to see a section of the Indominus Rex pit, and that's going to be like the highlight probably,
And Lost, if you're a big Lost fan, a lot of Lost locations.
Certainly. But not to go full circle, but it did just kind of tickle me, that idea of like, it was chosen originally for its beauty, and then because Jurassic Park was so big, everyone wants to film in the same spot as Jurassic Park. And so they're leaving more and more of these sets intact from Hollywood, and the valley is getting more and more expanded with tours and roads and all this stuff. So like the natural beauty, which was originally the reason to film in this location, is going down a bit, but more and more people are filming there because of the pedigree building. So it's a weird line that has crossed at a certain point for like, I'm sure there's a million other places to film in Hawaii that'll look more beautiful. But at this point, it's like, wow, they're used to working with us here. We're Hollywood friendly. Come on down, But
did you see any warthogs? We saw one warthog run by. That was pretty exciting.
No, that sounds cool.
I think that the guide even said it's like, oh, that's pretty rare. Like we don't see that on every tour. But it just we just saw a big one kind of run across in front of the truck. I think it was like followed by one other one. So that was cool.
Did he make a Jurassic Park reference or anything when he ran by, or?
No, I don't remember. I think he was just too excited to see a real animal that wasn't CG.
I get it completely. Well, hey, that's a little bonus video all about the Kualoa Ranch, otherwise known as Jurassic Valley there in Hawaii. Let us know if you've gone on this tour in the comments below what we missed. all those fun details, other things that were filmed there. And if you enjoyed this discussion, you can help support more exactly like it by going to patreon.com/minmax with 2 N's, where if you support us at the $5 tier, even just for 1 month, you can unlock our commentary track for the original Jurassic Park, where we talk through that whole damn thing. And we have done a bunch of other commentary tracks as well, but for the original Jurassic Park, that is in the bonus podcast feed. You don't have to listen on Patreon. It pops up right in your favorite podcast app. If you go to patreon.com/minmax with 2 N's, check it out. All right, Kyle, that it? We covered it all?
Hang on to your butts.
That's it, everybody. Thanks so much. Aloha, Kyle, as they say. Okay.
Forgot to wave.
Expressionless frown. Did you know that you can more than double the amount of podcasts from MinMax every single week by supporting us at the $5 tier on Patreon? You don't have to listen through the browser or anything dumb like that. You'll get access to a private RSS feed if you support us on Patreon. You put it in your favorite podcast app, and then bam, you can listen to our weekly bonus podcast Party Chat, the podcast versions of The Deepest Dives, MinMax interviews, Max spoilers, and you get the MinMax Show podcast a day earlier than everybody else. So please help support independent games media. Head over to patreon.com/MinMax with